and opinions expressed by callers, guests, and hosts do not necessarily reflect those of the Black Talk Radio Network and Black Talk Media Project. Black Talk Radio is new black media for the new millennium.
Dinar would have had serious consequences for the world financial system, but may also have empowered the people of Africa, something black activists say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake.
Say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake.
Say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing.
Gaddafi didn't give up. In the months leading up to the military intervention, he called on African and Muslim nations to join together to create this new currency that would rival the dollar and euro. They would sell oil and other resources around the world only for gold dinars. It's an idea that would shift the economic balance of the world. Countries' wealth would depend on how much gold they have, not how many dollars they trade. And Libya has 144 tons of gold.
Welcome everyone to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. My name is Dave from LA, coming to you live from FEMA Region number 6, and we have a live show for you today. Today is March the 28th, 2017. It is a Tuesday, and we're definitely looking forward to bringing you a great live show. And just want to thank you all for listening to Thando Radio Show. And before we get started, everyone continue to support Black Talk Radio Network, and you can easily do that by going to the website for Black Talk Radio Network, and that's www.blacktalkradionetwork.com. And there you'll see in the far right-hand margin, you'll see the icon for donations in green and in white. The holding hands are there. Just go ahead, click on that, and that will lead you and prompt you into how you can give some of your financial energy for this network to continue to grow and deliver and bring you what you have deemed as necessary and important. So give some of your financial energy so this network can continue to do. Very easy to do. Also, Black Talk Radio Network has established a social media network as well, known as BTR Community. And you can find that by going to www.btrcommunity.com. It will be there. And you can do all of your social media activities from BTR Community. You can post all the things that you regularly post. You can promote yourself, your business, events that you think need more public exposure. You can engage in all of your social media activities without being adversely affected by your overall information being sold to any bidder and your information being spidered and connected, so that there is a web that is being placed around you and everyone else that you know. They want that information for a reason. So come on over to BTR Community. It's the only place that I post. I no longer post in the mainstream media outlets of social media platforms. I don't post inside of FedBook or anything else. So very, very important. So just want to thank you all for supporting Black Talk Radio Network and supporting BTR Community. And BTR Community, you could do that for a very low introduction and support of the system of $24 a year. It only costs $24 a year for you to engage in that social media platform. It's very, very, I mean, it's the cost is so minimum. So let's continue to grow BTR Community, because that's where we should be engaging and practicing a part of our collective prudence. So BTR, everyone, drop the ones that are actually using you, and it is not to your advantage. Use BTR Community, which will be to your advantage. And it was created with you in mind, okay? This is where we can actually, where you can take care of yourself, your family, and our overall community as we go further in this age of technology, and there are things that we're going to have to do, and we can do it right there among ourselves, and we can gain from it ourselves instead of being exploited. So definitely engage in BTR community. Also, if you would like to acquire real money, if you would like to save as a king and a queen or a lady and a gentleman, go to Prosperity Mint, PROSPERITYMINT. We have some new items that are there. I'm going to be posting more new items that we're going to be putting up on our website. Looking forward to doing just that. You can actually, even though you're not paid as a queen or a king, because a queen or a king or queen is paid in gold. A lady and a gentleman is paid in silver, and a slave is paid in debt. Most everyone that I know, myself included, they actually, the system pays me in a debt's wage or a slave's wage, like they do you. They pay you in cash. So what you can do is you can transfer that cash into real money, and now you can save as a king and a queen or as a lady and gentleman. You can control a intrinsical asset such as the precious metal. Very, very important. So check out what we have at Prosperity Mint. Then you can email us at wolf6pack1@gmail.com, or you can text me. Make sure you leave a number for us to call you back and engage and acquire, as we're going to really start to pick up on why you should be doing that in the future. And you'll see why. All you have to do is look at Greece, look at Venezuela. We're going to have just a show on that probably this week. So definitely that's something that we definitely need to do. Okay? So you can go to Prosperity Mint. You look at what's in look at what we have in inventory there, then reach out to me, and that'll be fine. And if you're going to make relatively small purchases, you could do that right from there, as long as they're not anything more than a specific amount. Anything more than $1,000, you should definitely reach out to us, because I want you to make sure that you understand the process and you're purchasing correctly, okay? So anything less than that, you could do that there, but definitely still reach out, or I will reach out to you as well. Make sure that you respond back, because that's going to be me want to make sure that you understand the process. So very, very important. Okay, so what I want to do is we're going to jump into a show, and okay, got you, Scotty, go ahead. Okay, we're going to jump into today's show. And once again, I just want to thank you all for being a part of BTR community and being a part of Black Talk Radio Network's community, and being a part of the Thando Radio Show, family. And so what we're going to do today is that we're going to jump into what's in the news, but it's going to be relatively short. Then we're going to jump into something that I think is very, very important in today's show. Definitely need to do that. I'm losing my voice, so I have to save my voice. So we're going to do a couple of other things to help in that today. So we will definitely we'll take a look at that. All right. So let's jump into what's in the news. And let me see. 1 second. Let me get to here. And then, okay. So the first, hopefully my internet will come up. So it's not, where's mine? Okay. 1 second, everyone. Probably going to have to go to my tablet. And that seems to work a little bit better. So just bear with me in 1 second. And in the meantime, let me fix this. And in the meantime, if you'd like to jump in on the conversation at the last 15 minutes of the show, you can give us a call at 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025. Then hit **. We'll see you in queue, and we'll bring you up. Okay? And so that we're going to do that at the last 15 minutes of the show. So today we're going to do something, because I have to save my voice. I'm losing it because I've just been doing a lot of talking. So today we're going to take a look at some things, and we're going to check those out. And I'm just trying to get this everything up so we can jump into what's in the news, and we're going to get to today's show, which I'm very, very excited about. I'm going to, from time to time, I want to bring you some books that I think are relatively very, very important. And we'll do that from time to time, and that will help me as well. Probably I'm going to need a co-host relatively soon. And so, but you guys, some of your calls and everything else, we got Brother Bragg, we got Brother Davis that does Wednesdays, Wise Wednesdays, and great, I mean, just the information is phenomenal. And I'm hopefully Brother Davis will chime in early, because I want him to be able to say what Wise Wednesday is going to be about, if we're going to have a Wise Wednesday. So hopefully he'll be able to do that, and that way we'll be able to maintain the overall direction. So give me 1 second. I'm going to pull up here on BTR. I got to redo this. 1 second. Let me just get into BTR community. I'm going to jump right into the show. There's a couple of articles, but I like to see them. I can't see them currently because I refreshed. Maybe if I try to refresh again, it'll pop up. If not, I'm going to have to wing it, but that's all right. And that's okay. Here we go. Let me just log in real quickly. Bear with me all, and I appreciate you all. And sometimes what happens is that it never fails. The internet will work just before I get ready for the show. Then I step away to do something else, and then boop, there it goes. And the pop. I can see some of the articles, but I can't see what they were saying. Put in the wrong password. You gotta get in the right one. I don't know about y'all, but I hate this password stuff. But hey, that's the system it is. But here we go, and I should be able to get into the system here and jump right into it. Let me just hit my name and pull up what's here on Thando, and then maybe, hopefully, this will be a little bit faster, then we'll get right into what's in the news. Okay, so, and it's populating, so we'll get right into it so we won't have any further delay. Also, once again, if you'd like to get in on the conversation towards the last 15 minutes of the show, give us a call, 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025, then hit **. We'll see you in queue, and we'll bring you up, okay? So hopefully this will populate, taking its time. It knows we have an important show, so it's taking its time, and says, David, we'll do it when we're good and ready, not when just because you say it. Sounds like a lot of people, story of all of our lives, right? So, okay, 1 second. Here we go. So while we do that, what I want to say, just to so we don't have any dead air, today's show is going to be digging into the text of a warrior study, Go Run No Show. It's a very, very, in my estimation, one of the most important. Not one of the most important, but an extremely important book that you all should be engaging in, and that is the Book of Five Rings. It's older than the Bible, predates the Bible, predates the art of war. And I'll say this about the art of war. The art of war is good, but actually the art of war is actually part of the manipulation to deceive. And, by studying different things, you'll see that with the so-called art of war. It is in itself extremely flawed, but it's a great introduction to some of the things that you should need to know. I absolutely love the Book of Five Rings because it's more holistic. To me, it's much more important, and it's more relative than other writings. And yes, all writings can be manipulated because history is always going to be biased towards the overall writer itself. So the Book of Five Rings, to me, is far more advanced, far more important than the art of war. Okay, and that's just my estimation from what I've learned. Is one of the books that are, to me, is extremely important, and you can find it actually if you want to go to a bookstore. You're going to find it in the business section for the few bookstores that we have left. And I like to read things from all over, and I like to engage in things from all over. And I take out, and it resonates with me, and it would resonate with you because it is really a warrior's point of view. And I think that you're going to be, it'll resonate with you. And there's some things that you already know that will be substantiated and validated because of a familiar resonance in your frequency. So, this is why I think a lot of times when you read certain things, you'll resonate with things, and you'll learn some things, which is no different, but also sometimes you'll find some things that you resonate with. And so it actually, it's always in good standings with you, and you understand it. I'm not understanding, but you can actually have a relationship with it. Well, my overall, can't get these stories up, so I'm going to try to wing it from here. Daggone it. Just didn't do it. All right, so we're going to go jump into what's in the news. All right, so what's in the news is Raz posted something from the Time, and it says sugar harmful effects. I can see that. The next one, Raz said, I knew this was what happened. I knew now know what happened Friday. Is what Raz put here, and this comes from Superstation 95. I don't know what this story is. Maybe if I pop it up, it'll tell me. Let me hit it real quick. Okay, it was the train derailment. It says, and that one was Amtrak train derails and Penn Station smashed. And Raz, I talked to Raz about that. Raz talked about that on Friday. So yeah, that it's a lot more to things that, in my opinion, what's going on here. So check out that story. And then Raz also posted another one, and it comes from Superstation 95 as well. And it says, dark web ablaze, talks of using use of force against Congress, state and even local officials. So check out that article as well. Raz pointed there. So I got to click on them to see what they are. Sorry about that, everyone. Next one from Superstation 95 as well comes that they're saying that North Korea threatens strike without warning against the U.S. and South Korean troops. Check out that article. And that was next article. This one comes from Touch. Let me see. TouchArcade.com. I think that, yeah. And so it says a new algorithm can tell developers when you'll get bored of their games. So check out the algorithms is actually a part of the overall control pattern of what's going on, of programming you. Algorithms for things to work in their advantage. So check out that great article there, my man Raz. Next article from New York Times, Raz put healthcare. Oops, I'm getting ahead of myself. NewYorkTimes.com says Affordable Care Act repealed is back on the agenda, Republicans say. And this is what they're going to use to say that the government shutdown and it's all a ploy. This is where they're going to threaten your overall quality of life and standard of living. Next article comes from Nature.com. A Japanese man is the first to receive reprogrammed stem cells from another person. So check out that. Love that article. Great one there, Ross. Thanks, brother. Check out that article. Next one comes from QZ.com. Murder in the virtual reality video game should be illegal. So check out that article that Roz posted up there. Check out that. All right, next article. Roz posted this one from Today.com. Health, nearly 1 million, it says nearly 1 million pounds of breaded chicken products recalled after metal. Nearly 1 million, this came from Today.com. Nearly 1 million pounds of breaded chicken products recalls over metal objects. Check out that article. You need to know that stuff if you are a partaker of that. Next article comes from DW.com, okay, and it says Nigeria's army ramps up military presence in Nigeria. In this overall global paradigm of war is really growing in Cameroon, Nigeria, all of that. This is the global war that is going to. This is the expansion of that. So check out that article. Next article. Posted this one from Daily News. I didn't post much today. Was very busy. L.A. mayor vows to fight Trump's administration against attempts to strip sanctuary city fundings. Check out that article. It's a setup there, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to bring the destabilization that is we're going to see. And then the next one I posted from YouTube is where the celebrity figurehead. Excuse me. This is where the celebrity figurehead, Secretary of State, was telling that sanctuary cities, cities that involve themselves in sanctuary cities, going to lose funding. So check out that article. And the last one that we put up today, this was from conspiracydailyupdate.com. It says breaking. Autopsy results from Vernon Foster exhumed body cause of death to be changed. And this is where I said that the Clintons were political serial killers. And there's the list of all of the people that have been from Commerce Secretary Ron Brown. You know that story. We'll cover that one day. So this overall trail is getting deep. This is why I call them political serial killers. And they're just doing what the system is telling them to do and engaging in that. And that's where they are. So check out that article, and it's going to spread from there. So check out that article. So today's show is digging into the text of a warrior study, Go Run No Show. Very, very important. This is a very, to me, is a relevant, extremely relevant book, and it is something that I would say that's more important than the art of war, much more important than the art of war. The art of war is more popular, but it has nothing, in my opinion, as to the depths and the bounds of the Book of Five Rings. And this was done by the Japanese sword master, Michio Miyamoto. And very, very great book. And we're going to audio book that because I got to save my voice. I'm losing it. And then we'll take our regular breaks. And then we're going to listen to this for a while. Sit back. This is a great book. Let me hold on. Let me fix this here. And I'm going to play the audio book for you all. Go Ren No Show. The Book of Five Rings is a must, even before Sun Tzu's Art of War. That has its place, but in my opinion, is extremely inferior to the Book of Five Rings. And I always suggest that is a must engage, because to me, it's not even a read. It's something that you engage in. So we're going to jump into that. And we're going to do that for today's show. And then at the last 15 minutes, if you have any questions or comments, definitely come in. And this is from one of the greatest swordsmen in the world. One of the greatest swordsmen in the world, and very, very important. And we're going to talk about how that came about. And remember, in order for them to become these great swordsmen, there was a connection. The Asian and the black culture of that, in order for some of the samurais to be actual samurais, they had to have at least a third of black blood in them. And there was a reason for that, because this is where the arts actually was developed, were the arts of our ancient past, which is the ancient past of all civilizations. is an extension of from where we are. These are the things that don't get really talked about. So we're going to jump into the Book of Five Rings. Go no show. Excuse me. Go rin no show. The Book of Five Rings. Here we go. Listen up.
Go Rin no Show. The Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi. Introduction. I have been many years training in the way of strategy, called Niten Ichi Ryu, and now I think I'll explain it in writing for the first time. It is now during the first 10 days of the 10th month in the 20th year of Kanei, 1645. I have climbed Mountain Iwaso of Higo in Kyushu to pay homage to heaven, pray to Kwannon, and kneel before Buddha. I am a warrior of Harima Province. Shinmen Musashi no Kami Fujiwara no Geshin, age 60 years. From youth, my heart has been inclined towards the way of strategy. My first duel was when I was 13. I struck down a strategist of the Shinto school, one Arima Kae. When I was 16, I struck down an able strategist, Tadashima Akiyama. When I was 21, I went up to the capital and I met all manner of strategists. Never once failed.
Okay, let me stop it real quick. Now, when he says he struck down these different strategists, he's talking about in sword fights. He was doing this at 13. Then he made killed his first swordsman at 16. He was 16 years old. So I just wanted to lay that out for you all, okay? Because this is he's known as the greatest swordsman, and this is really all about strategy. And this is why this is one of, for me, it was a must read, and for my friends and close friends and family, I always suggest that they definitely read this, because everyone needs to be a strategist. And this is why this book, this writings, and this actual chronicalized history is much more important than the art of war, far more superior than the art of war, because what is actually learned there. So just wanted to give you that heads up in case someone has never heard of the Book of Five Rings. So here we go.
Failing to win in many contests. After that, I went from province to province, dueling with strategists of various schools, and not once failed to win, even though I had as many as 16 counters. This was between the ages of 13 and 28, or 29. When I reached 30, I looked back on my past. The previous victories were not due to my having mastered strategy. Perhaps it was natural ability, or the order of heaven, or that other schools' strategy was inferior. After that, I studied morning and evening, searching for the principle, and I came to realize the way of strategy when I was 50. Since then, I
wanted to stop it there. The way of principle. Many of us, our principle is wrong. I always say that you can lie to a friend, a family member, you can lie to people, you can lie to whomever. You can't lie to yourself. And many people's principles are always wrong. And that they think that they're getting away with it because there's no immediate repercussion of that. But they don't realize that their overall principal value is destroying them only. And we don't see it as that because we've been taught and schooled in deceptions and in lies. So you too become the deceptor and the liar. And this is some things that we all have to battle with because we've been inundated with it. And this is why Miyamoto's life is so important, because it's him evolving principally is so important. So we're going to get back to it. Here we go.
Lived without following any particular way. Thus, with the virtue of strategy, I practiced many arts and abilities, all things with no teacher. To write this book, I did not use the law of Buddha.
I had to stop again. It's just so much. And I'm going to tell you, and forgive me for it, but one thing, when I read a book, I don't try to blaze through it. I'll actually read one page an hour, put it down, and just to sit on what is it that I've just been introduced to. So I may read one book, one page, but I'll have a year's worth of contemplating the principle of that. That's just me. So he had, one of the things that was critical, he had no teacher. This is why this is so much more superior than the art of war. And I want to introduce this to you all as well, because it is far more superior. And they both predate, and they're much more older, much more been around longer than the Bible. The actual Bible has actually taken taken verse and taken principles from this, as well as the art of war. And the art of war had taken from the Book of Five Rings. So just wanted to give you some background. Okay, I'm not going to interrupt anymore. Here we go.
The teachings of Confucius, neither old war chronicles nor books on martial tactics. I take up my brush to explain the true spirit of this I Chi school, as it is mirrored in the Way of Heaven and Kwanon. The time is the night of the 10th day of the 10th month, at the hour of the tiger, 3 to 5 a.m. The Book of Earth. Strategy is the craft of the warrior. Commanders must enact the craft, and troopers should know this way. There is no warrior in the world today who really understands the way of strategy. There are various ways. This is the way of salvation by the law of Buddha, the way of Confucius governing by the way of learning, the way of healing as a doctor, as a poet teaching the way of waka, tea, archery, and many arts and skills. Each man practices as he feels inclined. It is said that the warrior's is the twofold way of pen and sword, and he should have a taste for both ways. Even if a man has no natural ability, he can be a warrior by sticking assiduously to both divisions of the way. Generally speaking, the way of the warrior is resolute acceptance of death. Although not only warriors but priests, women, peasants, and lowlier folk have been known to die readily in the cause of duty or out of shame, this is a different thing. The warrior is different in that studying the way of strategy is based on overcoming men. By victory gained in crossing swords with individuals, or in joining battle with large numbers, can we attain power and fame for ourselves or for our Lord. This is the virtue of strategy. The way of strategy. In China and Japan, practitioners of the way have been known as masters of strategy. Warriors must learn this way. Recently, there have been people getting on in the world as strategists, but they are usually just sword fencers. The attendants of the Kashima Kantori shrines of the province of Hitachi received instruction from the gods and made schools based on this teaching, traveling from country to country instructing men. This is a recent meaning of strategy. In olden times, strategy was listed among the 10 abilities and 7 arts as a beneficial practice. It was certainly an art, but as a beneficial practice, it was not limited to sword fencing. The true value of sword fencing cannot be seen within the confines of sword fencing technique. If we look at the world, we see arts for sale. Men use equipment to sell their own selves. As if with the nut and the flower, the nut has to become less than the flower. In this way of strategy, both those teaching and those learning the way are concerned with coloring and showing off their technique, trying to hasten the bloom of the flower. They speak of this dojo and that dojo. They are looking for profit. Someone once said, immature strategy is the cause of grief. That was a true saying. There are 4 ways in which men pass through life: as gentlemen, farmers, artisans, and merchants. The way of the farmer, using agricultural instruments, he sees springs through to autumns with an eye on the changes of the season. The second is the way of the merchant. The winemaker obtains his ingredients and puts them to use to make his living. The way of the merchant is always to live by taking profit. This is the way of the merchant. Thirdly, the gentleman warrior, carrying the weaponry of his way. The way of the warrior is to master the virtue of his weapons. So must he not have a little taste for this? Fourthly, the way of the artisan. The way of the carpenter is to become proficient in the use of his tools. First to lay his plans with true measure and then perform his work according to plan. Thus he passes through life. These are the 4 ways of the gentleman, the farmer, the artisan, and the merchant. Comparing the way of the carpenter to strategy. The comparison with carpentry is through the connection with houses. Houses of the nobility, houses of warriors, the 4 houses, ruin of houses, thriving of houses, the style of the house, the tradition of the house, and the name of the house. The carpenter uses a master plan of the building, and the way of strategy is similar in that there is a plan of campaign. If you want to learn the craft of war, ponder over this book. The teacher is as a needle, the disciple is as thread. You must practice constantly. Like the foreman carpenter, the commander must know natural rules, and the rules of the country, and the rules of houses. This is the way of the foreman. The foreman carpenter must know the architectural theory of towers and temples, and the plans of palaces, and must employ men to raise up houses. The way of the foreman carpenter is the same as the way of the commander of a warrior house. In the construction of houses, choice of woods is made. Straight, unknotted timber of good appearance is used for the revealed pillars. Straight timber with small defects is used for the inner pillars. Timber of the finest appearance, even if a little weak, is used for the thresholds, lintels, and doors, and sliding doors, and so on. Good strong timber, though it be gnarled and knotted, can always be used discreetly in construction. Timber which is weak or knotted throughout should be used as scaffolding and then later for firewood. The foreman carpenter allots his men work according to their ability. Floor layers, makers of sliding doors, thresholds and lintels, ceilings, and so on. Those of poor ability lay the floor joist, and those of lesser ability carve wedges and do such miscellaneous work. If the foreman knows and deploys his men well, the finished work will be good. The foreman should take into account the abilities and limitations of his men, circulating among them and asking nothing unreasonable. He should know their morale and spirit, and encourage them when necessary. This is the same as the principle of strategy. The way of strategy. Like a trooper, the carpenter sharpens his own tools. He carries his equipment in his toolbox and works under the direction of his foreman. He makes columns and girders with an axe, shapes floorboards and shelves with a plane. He cuts fine openwork and carvings accurately, giving as excellent a finish as his skill will allow. This is the craft of carpenters. When the carpenter becomes skilled and understands measures, he can become a foreman. The carpenter's attainment is, having tools which will cut well, to make small shrines, writing shelves, tables, paper lanterns, chopping boards, and pot lids. These are the specialities of the carpenter. Things are similar to the trooper. You ought to think deeply about this. The attainment of the carpenter is that his work is not warped, that the joints are not misaligned, and that the work is truly planned so that it will meet well and is not merely finished in sections. This is essential. If you want to learn this way, deeply consider the things written in this book, one at a time. You must do sufficient research. Outline of the 5 books of this book of strategy. The way is shown in 5 books concerning different aspects. These are earth, water, fire, wind, and void. The body of the way of strategy from the viewpoint of my Ichi school is explained in the earth book. It is difficult to realize the true way just through sword fencing. Know the smallest things and the biggest things, the shallowest things and the deepest things. As if it were a straight road mapped out on the ground. The first book is called the Earth Book. The second is the Water Book, With water as the basis, the spirit becomes like water. Water adopts the shape of its receptacle. It is sometimes a trickle and sometimes a wild sea. Water has a clear blue color. By the clarity, things of Ichi school are shown in this book. If you master the principles of sword fencing, when you freely beat one man, you beat any man in the world. The spirit of defeating a man is the same for 10 million men. The strategist makes small things into big things, like building a great Buddha from 1 foot model. I cannot write in detail how this is done. The principal strategy is having one thing to know 10,000 things. Things of Ichi school are written in this, the water book. The third is the fire book. This book is about fighting. The spirit of fire is fierce, whether the fire be small or big, and so it is with battles. The way of battles is the same for man-to-man fights and for 10,000-a-side battles. You must appreciate that spirits can become big or small. What is big is easy to perceive. What is small is difficult to perceive. In short, it is difficult for large numbers of men to change position, so their movements can be easily predicted. An individual can easily change his mind, so his movements are difficult to predict. You must appreciate this. The essence of this book is that you must train night and day in order to make quick decisions. In strategy, it is necessary to treat training as a part of normal life, with your spirit unchanging. Thus, combat in battle is described in the fire book. Fourthly, the wind book. This book is not concerned with my Ichi school, but with other schools of strategy. By wind, I mean old traditions, present-day traditions, and family traditions of strategy. Thus, I clearly explain the strategies of the world. This is tradition. It is difficult to know yourself if you do not know others. To all ways there are side tracks. If you study a way daily, and your spirit diverges, you may think you are obeying a good way, but objectively it is not the true way. If you are following the true way and diverge a little, this will later become a large divergence. You must realize this. Other strategies have come to be thought of as merely sword fencing, and it is not unreasonable that this should be so. The benefit of my strategy, although it includes sword fencing, lies in a separate principle. I have explained what is commonly meant by strategy in other schools in the tradition (wind book). Fifthly, the book of the void. By void, I mean that which has no beginning and no end. Attaining this principle means not attaining the principle. The way of strategy is the way of nature. When you appreciate the power of nature, knowing the rhythm of any situation, you will be able to hit the enemy naturally and strike naturally. All of this is the way of the void. I intend to show how to follow the true way according to nature in the Book of the Void. The name Ichi Ryu ni To, 1 school, 2 schools. Warriors, both commanders and troopers, carry 2 swords at their belt. In olden times, these were called the long sword and the sword. Now they are known as the sword and the companion sword. Let it suffice to say that in our land, whatever the reason, a warrior carries 2 swords at his belt. It is the way of the warrior. Nito Ichi Ryu shows the advantage of using both swords. The spear and the halberd are both weapons that are carried out of doors. Students of the Ichi school way of strategy should train from the start with the sword and the long sword in either hand. This is the truth. When you sacrifice your life, you must make fullest use of your weaponry. It is false not to do so, and to die with a weapon yet undrawn. If you hold a sword with both hands, it is difficult to wield it freely to left and right. So my method is to carry the sword in one hand. This does not apply to large weapons, such as the spear or halberd, but to swords in
Okay, what I want to do is I want to stop it here. We're going to come back to it. So much that was being said, and I'm going to tell you, in today's world, they are teaching people to die with a sword undrawn. And I'm not speaking of just from a physical standpoint of a weapon of a physical weapon. But so many of us are dying without a sword being drawn, where we are surrendering ourselves. We put no resistance. We actually play by the rules so that the system will continue to rule. This book of 5 rings is one of my preferred favorites in so many ways. There's other ones, many other ones, but this is one that has always resonated with me as being significant and important. As you were listening to the first part of it all, we're going to get back to it, but I think Brother Davis is there, and I want Brother Davis to come up. If that's Brother Davis, if you're there, definitely come up now if you would unmute yourself to tell us about Wise Wednesday. Then we'll get back into No Run, No Show, the Book of 5 Rings. And so whenever you get a chance, Brother Davis, if you would unmute yourself, if we're going to have Wise Wednesday tomorrow, and for you to tell us what it's going to be about, and definitely looking forward to it. So I'm going to give Brother Davis an opportunity to come up if that is him. I think that's his number. And so I'm going to just wait for Brother Davis to come up. So whenever you get a chance, Brother Davis, if you would unmute yourself, that lets me know that you're ready, and then we'll go from there. So I hope that there was so much that was there. This is really, in my estimation, is more of a book of everyday life choices and how you perceive and your overall willingness to continue to study. And that study should be without teacher. That study should be without teacher in so many ways, because it should be something that's self-motivated. Even though you may pick up different things from different people, and I think it's always good to, because one of the things that the process of learning is never complete until what it is that you have learned has been been given as to someone else, so that they can partake of it and grow it as well. So very, very important. I was talking to my man, one of my friends, T, today on the phone, and very important that we understand that sometimes wisdom comes as fruit or as a seed. Fruit as a seed or as a seed. And the fruit of wisdom is something that can be taken right away for nourishment. But it as a seed is extremely powerful, because then it should be planted in good soil so that it can grow in you and bear forth great trees of prosperity, the tree of life, and so forth and so on, to where it can continue to reproduce and give great fruit. That's where I think it's very, very important. But it has to be, in my opinion, that's where wisdom can be then given as a seed to actually mature itself and to find the nutrients that is necessary for it to grow to its full potential. And then the fruit always does what? Reseeds itself to regenerate, to re-give, and to give more sustainability. So I guess that wasn't Brother Davis that was there. So we're going to jump back in it for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to open up the phone lines towards the end. I have to save my voice. I'm losing my voice. Got to save it. So I said we'll do an audio book today, the Book of 5 Rings, because we go pretty hard nonstop, and it's, so got to save my voice. All right, so that wasn't Brother Davis, so we're going to go ahead and get back to Go Ring No Show, the Book of 5 Rings, and the importance of it all. Here we go.
Hangman swords that can be carried in one hand. It is encumbering to hold the sword with both hands when you're on horseback, when running on uneven roads, on swampy ground, muddy rice fields, stony ground, or in a crowd of people. To hold the long sword in both hands is not the true way, for if you carry a bow or spear or other arms in your left hand, you have only one hand free for the long sword. However, when it is difficult to cut an enemy down with one hand, You must use both hands. It is not difficult to wield a sword in one hand. The way to learn this is to train with 2 long swords, one in each hand. It will seem difficult at first, but everything is difficult at first. Bows are difficult to draw. Halberds are difficult to wield. As you become accustomed to the bow, so your pull will become stronger. When you become used to wielding the long sword, you will gain the power of the way and wield the sword well. As I will explain in the second book, the Water Book, there is no fast way of wielding the long sword. The long sword should be wielded broadly, and the companion sword closely. This is the first thing to realize. According to this Ichi school, you can win with a long weapon, and yet you can also win with a short weapon. In short, the way of the Ichi school is the spirit of winning, whatever the weapon and whatever the size. It is better to use 2 swords rather than 1 when you are fighting a crowd, and especially if you want to take a prisoner. These things cannot be explained in detail. From one thing, know 10,000 things. When you attain the way of strategy, there will not be one thing you cannot see. You must study hard. The benefits of the 2 characters reading strategy. Masters of the long sword are called strategists. As for other military arts, those who master the bow are called archers. Those who master the spear are called spearmen. Those who master the gun are called marksmen. Those who master the halberd are called halberdiers. But we do not call masters of the way of the longsword long swordsmen, nor do we speak of companion swordsmen, because bows, guns, spears, and halberds are all warriors' equipment. They are certainly part of strategy. To master the virtue of the longsword is to govern the world and oneself. Thus, the longsword is the basis of strategy. The principle is strategy by means of the longsword. If he attains the virtue of the longsword, 1 man can beat 10 men. Just as 1 man can beat 10, so 100 men can beat 1,000, and 1,000 men can beat 10,000. In my strategy, 1 man is the same as 10,000, so this strategy is the complete warrior's craft. The way of the warrior does not include other ways, such as Confucianism, Buddhism, certain traditions, artistic accomplishments, and dancing. But even though these are not part of the way, if you know the way, broadly you will see it in everything. Men must polish their particular way. The benefit of weapons and strategy. There is a time and a place for use of weapons. The best use of the companion sword is in a confined space, when you're engaged closely with an opponent. The long sword can be used effectively in all situations. The halberd is inferior to the spear on the battlefield. With the spear, you can take the initiative. The halberd is defensive. In the hands of 1 or 2 men of equal ability, the spear gives a little extra strength. The spear and halberd both have their uses, but neither is very beneficial in confined spaces. They cannot be used for taking a prisoner. They are essentially weapons for the field. Anyways, if you learn indoor techniques, you will think narrowly and forget the true way. Thus, you will have difficulty in actual encounters. The bow is tactically strong at the commencement of battle. However, battles on a moor, as it is possible to shoot quickly from among the spearmen. However, it is unsatisfactory in sieges, or when the enemy is more than 40 yards away. For this reason, there are nowadays few traditional schools of archery, and there is little use nowadays for this kind of skill. From inside fortifications, the gun has no equal among weapons. It is the supreme weapon on the field before the ranks clash. But once the swords are crossed, the gun becomes useless. One of the virtues of the bow is that you can see the arrows in flight and correct your aim accordingly, whereas gunshots cannot be seen. You must appreciate the importance of this. Just as a horse must have endurance and no defects, so it is with weapons. Horses should walk strongly, and swords and companion swords should cut strongly. Spears and halberds must stand up to heavy use. Bows and guns must be sturdy. Weapons should be hardy rather than decorative. You should not have a favorite weapon. To become overfamiliar with one weapon is as much a fault as not knowing it sufficiently well. You should not copy others, but use weapons which you can handle properly. It is bad for commanders and troops to have likes and dislikes. These are things you must learn thoroughly. Timing in strategy. There is timing in everything. Timing in strategy cannot be mastered without a great deal of patience. Timing is important in dancing and pipe or string music, for they are in rhythm only if timing is good. Timing and the rhythm are also involved in the military arts, shooting bows and guns and riding horses. In all skills and abilities, there is timing. There is also timing in the void. There is timing in the whole life of the warrior, in his thriving and declining, in his harmony and discord. Similarly, there is timing in the way of the merchant, in the rise and fall of capital. All things entail rising and falling timing. You must be able to discern this. In strategy, there are various timing considerations. From the outset, you must know the applicable timing and inapplicable timing, and from among the large and small things and the fast and slow timings, find the relevant timing, first seeing the distance timing and the background timing. This is the main thing in strategy. It will be especially important to know the background timing, otherwise your strategy will become uncertain. You will win in battles with the timing in the void, born of the timing of cunning, by knowing the enemy's timing.
Okay, we're getting ready to go to a commercial break. You're listening to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. When we come back out of the commercial break, we'll jump right back into the Book of Five Rings. No Rin, no show. The Book of Five Rings. Very, very important. I hope that you are catching some of the things, some of the principles that are being laid out that are applicable to today's, yesterday's, and tomorrow's world. You're listening to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
Black Talk Radio, since 2008, providing new black media for the masses.
Okay, welcome back, everyone, to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. I'm your host, Dave from L.A., and we are looking at, in today's show, thank you all for bearing with me. I need to save my voice. We're looking at the Book of Five Rings, Go Ren, No Show. And when I was, a child, I always thought that this was book was written for me because it said, Go Ren, no show. Don't show everything you have. Just go, Ren. And so that was just, that was me growing up. So we're going to jump back in. Before we do that, if there's anyone that would like to make any comments about anything before we get back into it, you can definitely do that now. Give us a call, 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025. Then hit star. And if not, we'll jump right back into it. Brother Davis, if you are there, if you would unmute yourself for tomorrow's show, Wise Wednesdays, if we're going to have it. So let me know. Would greatly appreciate and would love to hear from you as well. So, okay, there we go. We got Brother Davis, is that you?
It's always good to hear the voice of a friend.
It's always good to hear the voice of a friend. Hey, Brother Davis, how are you?
I'm blessed and highly favored, and I'm listening to the night show, and many may not realize that these are the lessons that are being taught by an oracle. And the oracle is giving balance to those things that are unknown to you, only because Westernism does not want you to know who you are. That's
right.
It's a very powerful oracle. There are a number of ones. There's the I Ching oracle. There's the one that you're listening to. There, in each individual culture has what's called a oracle, meaning a sage's teaching. And they all deal with the proliferation of life on the level which we are unaccustomed. We have to do something or have an obedience. If you listen to what he was saying that you must do and be consistent. That means have obedience to. And in doing so, you teach your body, your mind, and the harmony of purpose to work as one. So, I mean, it's a very, very, very powerful lesson. But let me speak on tomorrow night's show real quick because I don't really want to interfere with any more than necessary. But listening to this, and for those of you who are ready to develop to those stages where you can become more forceful in thought, one of the principles that he speaks about, although he may not say this verbally or he may have, it is the positive perception of what all that is you. What you think, what you say, how you act, and how you see yourself. What all is you. So tomorrow night, I'll bring a show to you that speaks on the bounty of self. You see, when you share yourself with other people, you not only share who you are, what you are, the content of your being. So when you give that, you're giving a platter of wealth of self. And people don't understand the importance of that because that's nutrients to that person who it is given to. And what is best is if any of that on the platter takes root in them, then they begin to establish their own bounty of self and become more open to the willingness of the harmony and flow of the principles of that they serve as self. So it's going to be with this show tonight, and if those of you who listen to tomorrow night's show, I will not focus on the way this program is presented, because this program is being presented in an exclusive way to the teachings of the sage. The show that I'm going to project to you tomorrow night is how you can form a thought process and diagram by imaging, using your imagination, and then planting those seeds in you so you speak the way you act and become what you believe you can be. So I'm looking forward to the Mind Night Show, Dave. The night show is excellent. I'll sit back and continue to listen.
Powerful, Brother Davis. And this is why I really always, Brother Davis and I, we flow because it's so important that we do that. And this, I knew that Brother Davis would bring this to you all and to us from a standpoint from a different strategical perspective as to what is definitely beneficial to us all. Timing, as was said, was everything. Is one of the things of the Book of Ring is timing. But see, this is the key with, in my opinion, this is what I've learned about timing. Timing is great, but it's subordinate to energy, because time can never dictate energy. Energy can actually discern time. Time can't discern energy. So very, very important. And that's what Brother Davis, why we have Wise Wednesdays. I'm looking forward to that. Much love, much respect, Brother Davis. And I truly, truly appreciate you and all that you do here on our show and with all of the listeners and just with the relationship, because it's all about what you're doing. It doesn't really matter where you are throughout human eternity or what is known, commonly referred to as history. It really matters on the response of the energy from the vessel's capability. And that's what I love about Brother Davis. That's what I love about you all. And that's what I love about this network. It's all about re-empowering all of our talents and so that we can use the appropriate tools, the appropriate tool at the correct timing. So much love, much respect. Brother Davis, looking forward to tomorrow, and we'll be here for Wise Wednesday. Looking forward to it. Much love, much respect. Give my regards to Sister Davis, and share my energy and with you and with the family. Much love, much respect, Brother Davis. Talk to you soon. Wise Wednesday, brothers and sisters. Tomorrow is we never can miss Wise Wednesday. That is so important. It's the grounding of ourselves so that we can see who we truly, truly are and reach the heights of our true capabilities. You know, a muscle has to be stressed, and has to go through endurance and has to be vigorously used in order for it to grow. And that muscle is not just the physical one, but there's the energy form of our abilities and talents that will lie within our same will of moving our muscles. So important. So definitely tomorrow, Wise Wednesdays, we're going to be here with Brother Davis. Looking forward to it. Okay, so we're going to pick back up. Let's make sure we got, okay, cool. We're going to pick back up here in 1 second. Hopefully I didn't lose. I think we're good to go. Oops. Yep, we're good to go. So we're going to hear this, and then at the we'll come back at the we'll take a break at the 30 minutes, then we'll hear a little more, then we'll pick it back up. Here we go. The Book of Five Rings.
And this using a timing which the enemy does not expect. All of the 5 books are chiefly concerned with this timing. You must train sufficiently to appreciate all of this. If you practice day and night in the above Ichi school strategy, your spirit will naturally broaden. Thus is a large-scale strategy and the strategy of hand-to-hand combat propagated in the world. This is recorded for the first time in the 5 books of Earth, Water, Fire, and Wind, and Void. This is the way for men who want to learn my strategy. Do not think dishonestly. The way is in training. Become acquainted with every art. Know the ways of all professions. Distinguish between gain and loss in worldly matters. Develop intuitive judgment and understanding for everything. Perceive those things which cannot be seen. Pay attention even to trifles. Do nothing which is of no use. It is important to start by setting these broad principles in your heart and train in the way of strategy. If you do not look at these things on a large scale, it will be difficult for you to master strategy. If you learn and attain this strategy, you will never lose, even to 20 or 30 enemies. More than anything, to start with, you must set your heart on strategy and earnestly stick to the way. You will come to be able to actually beat men in fights and to be able to win with your eye. Also, by training, you will be able to freely control your own body, conquer men with your body, and with sufficient training, you will be able to beat 10 men with your spirit. When you have reached this point, will it not mean that you are invincible? Moreover, in large-scale strategy, the superior man will manage many subordinates dexterously, bear himself correctly, govern the country and foster its people, thus preserving the ruler's discipline. If there is a way involving the spirit of not being defeated to help oneself and gain honor, it is the way of strategy. The second year of Shoho, 1645, the 5th month, the 12th day, the Water Book. The spirit of Ni Ten Ichi school of strategy is based on water, and this Water Book explains the method of victory as the long sword form of the Ichi school. Language does not extend to explaining the way in detail, but it can be grasped intuitively. Study this book, read a word, and then ponder on it. If you interpret the meaning loosely, you will mistake the way. The principles of strategy are written down here in terms of single combat, but you must think broadly so that you attain an understanding for 10,000-a-side battles. Strategy is different from other things, in that if you mistake the way even a little, you will become bewildered and fall into bad ways. If you merely read this book, you will not reach the way of strategy. Absorb the things written in this book. Do not just read, memorize, or imitate, but so that you may realize the principle from within your own heart. Study hard to absorb these things into your body. Spiritual bearing and strategy. In strategy, your spiritual bearing must not be any different from normal. Both in fighting and in everyday life, you should be determined through calm. Meet the situation without tenseness, yet not recklessly. Your spirit settled, yet unbiased. Even when your spirit is calm, do not let your body relax. And when your body is relaxed, do not let your spirit slacken. Do not let your spirit be influenced by your body, or your body influenced by your spirit. Be neither insufficiently spirited nor overly spirited. An elevated spirit is weak, and a low spirit is weak. Do not let the enemy see your spirit. Small people must be completely familiar with the spirit of large people, and large people must be familiar with the spirit of small people. Whatever your size, do not be misled by the reactions of your own body. With your spirit open and unconstricted, look at things from a high point of view. You must cultivate your wisdom and spirit. Polish your wisdom. Learn public justice. Distinguish between good and evil. Study the ways of different arts one by one. When you cannot be deceived by men, you will have realized the wisdom of strategy. The wisdom of strategy is different from other things. On the battlefield, even when you are hard-pressed, you should ceaselessly research the principles of strategy so that you can develop a steady spirit. Stance in strategy. Adopt a stance with the head erect, neither hanging down nor looking up, nor twisted. Your forehead and the space between your eyes should not be wrinkled. Do not roll your eyes or allow them to blink, but slightly narrow them. With your features composed, keep the line of your nose straight, with a feeling of slightly flaring your nostrils. Hold the line of the rear of your neck straight. Instill vigor into your hairline, and in the same way from the shoulders down through your entire body. Lower both shoulders, and without the buttocks jutting out, put strength into your legs from the knees to the tops of your toes. Brace your abdomen, so you do not bend at the hips. Wedge your companion sword in your belt against your abdomen, so the belt is not slack. This is called wedging in. In all forms of strategy, it is necessary to maintain the combat stance in everyday life and to make your everyday stance your combat stance. You must research this well. The gaze in strategy. The gaze should be large and broad. This is the twofold gaze, perception and sight. Perception is strong and sight is weak. In strategy, it is important to see distant things as if they were close, and to take a distance view of close things. It is important in strategy to know the enemy's sword and not be distracted by insignificant movements of his sword. You must study this. The gaze is the same for single combat and for large-scale combat. It is necessary in strategy to be able to look to both sides without moving the eyeballs. You cannot master this ability quickly. Learn what is written here. Use this gaze in everyday life, and do not vary it, whatever happens. Holding the longsword. Grip the longsword with a rather floating feeling in your thumb and forefinger, with the middle finger neither tight nor slack, and with the last two fingers tight. It is bad to have play in your hands. When you take up the sword, you must feel intent on cutting the enemy. As you cut an enemy, you must not change your grip, and your hands must not cower. When you dash the enemy's sword aside, or ward it off, or force it down, you must slightly change the feeling in your thumb and forefinger. Above all, you must be intent on cutting the enemy in the way you grip your sword. The grip for combat and for sword testing is the same. There is no such thing as a man-cutting grip. Generally, I dislike fixedness in both long swords and hands. Fixedness means a dead hand. Pliability is a living hand. You must bear this in mind. Footwork. With the tips of your toes somewhat floating, tread firmly with your heels. Whether you move fast or slow, with large or small steps, your feet must always move as in normal walking. I dislike the three walking methods known as jumping foot, floating foot, and fixed steps. So-called yin-yang foot is important to the way. Yin-yang foot means not moving only one foot. It means moving your feet left-right and right-left when cutting, withdrawing, or warding off a cut. You should not move one foot preferentially. The 5 attitudes. The 5 attitudes are upper, middle, lower, right side, and left side. These are the 5. Although attitude has these 5 dimensions, the one purpose of them all is to cut the enemy. There are none but these 5 attitudes. Whatever attitude you're in, do not be conscious of making the attitude. Think only of cutting. Your attitude should be large or small according to the situation. Upper, lower, and middle attitudes are decisive. Left side and right side attitudes are fluid. Left and right attitudes should be used if there is an obstruction overhead or to one side. The decision to use left or right depends on the place. The essence of the way is this. To understand attitude, you must thoroughly understand the middle attitude. The middle attitude is the heart of the attitudes. If we look at a strategy on a broad scale, the middle attitude is the seat of the commander, with the other 4 attitudes following the commander. You must appreciate this. The way of the longsword. Knowing the way of the longsword means we can wield with 2 fingers the sword we usually carry. If we know the path of the sword well, we can wield it easily. If you try to wield the longsword quickly, you will mistake the way. To wield the longsword well, you must wield it calmly. If you try to wield it quickly, like a folding fan or a short sword, you will err by using short sword chopping. You cannot cut a man with a long sword using this method. When you have cut downwards with the long sword, lift it straight upwards. When you cut sideways, return the sword along the sideways path. Return the sword in a reasonable way, always stretching the elbows broadly. Wield the sword strongly. This is the way of the sword. If you learn to use the 5 approaches of my strategy, you will be able to wield the sword well. You must train constantly. The 5 approaches. The first approach is the middle attitude. Confront the enemy with the point of your sword against his face. When he attacks, dash his sword to the right and ride it. Or, when the enemy attacks, deflect the point of his sword by hitting downwards. Keep your long sword where it is, and as the enemy renews the attack, cut his arms from below. This is the first method. The 5 approaches are this kind of thing. You must train repeatedly using a longsword in order to learn them. When you master my way of the long sword, you will be able to control any attack the enemy makes. I assure you, there are no attitudes other than the 5 attitudes of the longsword of knee-toe. In the second approach with the longsword, from the upper attitude, cut the enemy just as he attacks. If the enemy evades the cut, keep your sword where it is, and, scooping from below, cut him as he renews the attack. It is possible to repeat the cut from here. In this method, there are various changes in timing and spirit. You will be able to understand this by training in the Ichi school. You will always win with the 5 longsword methods. You must train repeatedly. In the third approach, adopt the lower attitude, anticipating scooping up. When the enemy attacks, hit his hands from below. As you do so, he may try to hit your sword down. If this is the case, cut his upper arms horizontally with a feeling of crossing. This means that from the lower attitudes, you hit the enemy at the instant that he attacks. You will encounter this method often, both as a beginner and in later strategy. You must train holding a long sword. In the fourth approach, adopt the left side attitude. As the enemy attacks, hit his hands from below. If, as you hit his hands, he attempts to dash down your sword, with the feeling of hitting his hands, parry the path of his long sword and cut across from above your shoulder. This is the way of the long sword. Through this method, you win by parrying the line of the enemy's attack. You must study this. In the fifth approach, the sword is in the right side attitude. In accordance with the enemy's attack, cross your sword from below at the side to the upper attitude, then cut straight from above. This method is essential for knowing the way of the longsword well. If you can use this method, you can freely wield a heavy long sword. I cannot describe in detail how to use these 5 approaches. You must become well acquainted with my In Harmony with the Longsword way, learn large-scale timing, and understand the enemy's longsword, and become used to the 5 approaches from the outset. You will always win by using these 5 methods, with various timing considerations discerning the enemy's spirit. You must consider all of this carefully. The attitude, no attitude teaching. Attitude, no attitude means there is no need for what are known as long sword attitudes. Even so, attitudes exist as the 5 ways of holding the long sword. However you hold the sword, it must be in such a way that it is easy to cut the enemy well, in accordance with the situation, the place, and your relation to the enemy. From the upper attitude, as your spirit lessens, you can adopt the middle attitude, and from the middle attitude, you can raise the sword a little in your technique and adopt the upper attitude. From the lower attitude, you can raise the sword a little and adopt the middle attitudes as the occasion demands. According to the situation, if you turn your sword from either the left side or the right side attitude towards the center, the middle or lower attitude results. The principle of this is called existing attitude, non-existing attitude. The primary thing when you take a sword in your hands is your intention to cut the enemy, whatever the means. Whenever you parry, hit, spring, strike, or touch the enemy's cutting sword, you must cut the enemy in the same movement. It is essential to attain this. If you think only of hitting, springing, striking, or touching the enemy, you will not be able to actually cut him. More than anything, you must be thinking of carrying your movement through to cutting him. You must thoroughly research this. Attitude in strategy on a larger scale is called battle array. Such attitudes are all for winning battles. Fixed formation is bad. Study this well. To hit the enemy in one timing. In one timing means when you have closed with the enemy, to hit him as quickly and directly as possible, without moving your body or settling your spirit, while you see that he is still undecided. The timing of hitting before the enemy decides to withdraw, break, or hit, this is called one timing. You must train to achieve this timing, to be able to hit in the timing of an instant. The abdomen timing of 2. When you attack and the enemy quickly retreats, as you see him tense, you must feint a cut. Then, as he relaxes, follow up and hit him. This is the abdomen timing of 2. It is very difficult to attain this merely by reading this book, but you will soon understand with a little instruction. No design, no conception. In this method, when the enemy attacks and you decide to attack, hit with your body and hit with your spirit, and hit from the void with your hands, accelerating strongly. This is the no design, no conception cut. This is the most important method of hitting. It is often used. You must train hard to understand it. The flowing water cut. The flowing water cut is used when you are struggling blade to blade with the enemy. When he breaks and quickly withdraws, trying to spring with his long sword, expand your body and spirit, and cut him as slowly as possible with your long sword, following your body like stagnant water. You can cut with certainty if you learn this. You must discern the enemy's grade. The continuous cut. When you attack and the enemy also attacks, and your swords spring together in one action, cut his head, hands, and legs. When you cut several places with one sweep of the long sword, it is called the continuous cut. You must practice this cut, as it is often used. With detailed practice, you should be able to understand it. The fire and stones cut. The fire and stones cut means that when the enemy's longsword and your longsword clash together, you cut as strongly as possible without raising the sword even a little. This means cutting quickly with the hands, body, and legs, all three cutting strongly. If you train well enough, you will be able to strike strongly. The red leaves cut. The red leaves cut means knocking down the enemy's longsword. The spirit should be getting control of his sword. When the enemy is in longsword attitude in front of you and intent on cutting, hitting, and parrying, you strongly hit the enemy's sword with the fire and stones cut, perhaps in the design of the no design, no conception cut. If you then beat down the point of his sword with a sticky feeling, he will necessarily drop the sword. If you practice this cut, it becomes easy to make the enemy drop his sword. You must train repetitively. The body in place of the long sword. Also, the long sword in place of the body. Usually we move the body and sword at the same time to cut the enemy. However, according to the enemy's cutting method, you can dash against him with your body first, and afterwards cut with the sword. If his body is immovable, you can cut first with the long sword, but you generally hit first with the body, and then cut with the long sword. You must research this well and practice hitting. The cut and slash. To cut and slash are two different things. Cutting, whatever form of cutting it is decisive and with a resolute spirit.
Okay, everyone, getting ready to go to a commercial break. You're listening to Thando Radio Show. We are listening to the audio book of the Book of Five Rings. And if you'd like to get in, we're going to come back out of there and after the commercial break. We'll listen to 15 minutes more. Definitely, if you'd like to call in and to have any questions or comment, we'd love to hear from you. Give us a call, 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025. I want to just thank you all for bearing with me. I'm losing my voice, so I got to be able to, get it back. So this helps me out a whole lot. So much love, much respect. We're going to go to a commercial break. You're listening to Thando Radio Show. We'll be right back after and come up with the last 30 minutes of the show. We'll be right back after these quick commercial breaks.
The Black Talk Radio Network is made possible in part with help from the Black Talk Media Project, a North Carolina-based nonprofit engaged in the production and distribution of independent digital black media. Find out more by going to blacktalkradionetwork.com or blacktalkmediaproject.org and look for the menu tab, Crowdfunding Black Media. Black Talk Media Project, helping to provide you with new black media for the new millennium. You are tuned in to Black Talk Radio, the new black media for the new millennium.
Okay, welcome back, everyone, to Thando Radio Show, brought to you by Black Talk Radio Network. I'm your host, Dave from L.A. We are actually hearing the audio book for Go Rin No Show, The Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto. Very, very important, one of the greatest recorded warriors of the sword ever in human history, so to speak, but there are many others that have not been recorded. This is just happened to be one actual documentation of one. So there are many, but this book has helped me in so many ways. It's really about your overall involvement, your reaction to all things around you and to life in general, and the power into the persistence of you as an individual and your talent. So I absolutely love this is one text that I go to from different times, and sometimes I'll just read one page and think on it, and from that one thing for a very long time before moving on because it's so powerful. And I do that with a lot of things. There are it's just a way that works well for me. So we're getting ready to get back to it. If you have any questions or comments, we're going to do 15 minutes more of it. Then we're going to open up the phone lines. If you have any questions or comments, definitely that would be the time. You can give us a call, 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025. Then hit star. That will unmute you, and we will see you in queue, and we'll bring you up so that you can ask your question or make your comment known. We'd love to hear from you, because a dialogue is much more important than a monologue. So let's get back to the Book of Five Rings, and we're going to listen to this to quarter till the hour, and then we'll open up the phone lines for your questions and comments. So here we go. The Book of Five Rings.
Slashing is nothing more than touching the enemy. Even if you slash strongly, and even if the enemy dies instantly, it is slashing. When you cut, your enemy is resolved. You must appreciate this. If you first slash the enemy's hands or legs, you must then cut strongly. Slashing is in the spirit the same as touching. When you realize this, they become indistinguishable. Learn this well. The Chinese monkey's body. The Chinese monkey's body is the spirit of not stretching out your arms. The spirit is to get in quickly, without in the least extending your arms. If you are intent upon not stretching out your arms, you are effectively far away. The spirit is to go in with your whole body, and when you come up to within an arm's reach, it becomes easy to move your body in. You must research this well. The glue and lacquer emulsion body. The spirit of glue and lacquer emulsion body is to stick to the enemy and not separate from him. When you approach the enemy, stick firmly with your head, body, and legs. People tend to advance their head and legs quickly, but their body lags behind. You should stick firmly so that there is not the slightest gap between the enemy's body and your body. You must consider this carefully. To strive for height. To strive for height is meant when you close with the enemy, to strive with him for superior height without cringing. Stretch your legs, stretch your hips, stretch your neck face to face with him. When you think you have won and you are the higher, thrust in strongly. You must learn this. To apply stickiness. When the enemy attacks, and you also attack with the long sword, you should go in with a sticky feeling and fix your long sword against the enemy's as you receive his cut. The spirit of stickiness is not hitting very strongly, but hitting so that the long swords do not separate easily. It is best to approach as calmly as possible when hitting the enemy's long sword with stickiness. The difference between stickiness and entanglement is that stickiness is firm and entanglement is weak. You must appreciate this. The body strike. The body strike means to approach the enemy through a gap in his guard. The spirit is to strike him with your body. Turn your face a little aside and strike the enemy's breast with your left shoulder thrust out. Approach with a spirit of bouncing the enemy away, striking as strongly as possible in time with your breathing. If you achieve this method of closing with the enemy, you will be able to knock him 10 or 20 feet away. It is possible to strike the enemy until he is dead. Train well. 3 ways to parry his attack. There are 3 methods to parry a cut. First, by dashing the enemy's long sword to your right, as if thrusting at his eyes, or when he makes an attack. Or, to parry by thrusting the enemy's long sword towards his right eye with the feeling of snipping his neck. Or, when you have a short long sword, without worrying about parrying the enemy's long sword to close with him quickly, thrusting at his face with your left hand. These are the 3 ways of parrying. You must bear in mind that you can always clench your left hand and thrust at the enemy's face with your fist. For this, it is necessary to train well. To stab at the face. To stab at the face means that when you're in a confrontation with the enemy, that your spirit is intent on stabbing at his face, following the line of the blades with the point of your longsword. If you're intent on stabbing at his face and body will become rideable. When the enemy becomes rideable, there are various opportunities for winning. You must concentrate on this. When fighting and the enemy's body becomes rideable, you can win quickly, so you ought not to forget to stab at the face. You must pursue the value of this technique through training. To stab at the heart. To stab at the heart means, when fighting, and there are obstructions above or to the sides, and wherever it is difficult to cut, to thrust at the enemy. You must stab at the enemy's breast without letting the point of your longsword waver, showing the enemy the ridge of the blade square on, and with the spirit of deflecting his longsword. The spirit of this principle is often useful when we become tired or for some reason our longsword will not cut. You must understand the application of this method. To scold, tut, tut. Scold means that when the enemy tries to countercut you as an attack, you countercut again from below as if thrusting at him, trying to hold him down. With very quick timing you cut, scolding the enemy, thrust up, tut, and cut, tut. This timing is encountered time and time again in an exchange of blows. The way to scold tut-tut is to time the cut simultaneously with raising your longsword as if to thrust the enemy. You must learn this through repetitive practice. The smacking parry. By smacking parry, it is meant that when you clash swords with the enemy, you meet his attacking cut on your longsword with a T-dum rhythm, smacking his sword and cutting him. The spirit of the smacking parry is not parrying or smacking strongly, but smacking the enemy's longsword in accordance with his attacking cut, primarily intent on quickly cutting him. If you understand the timing of smacking, however hard your longswords clash together, your sword point will not be knocked back even a little. You must research sufficiently to realize this. There are many enemies. There are many enemies applies when you are fighting one against many. Draw both sword and companion sword and assume a wide-stretched left and right attitude. The spirit is to chase the enemies around from side to side, even though they come from all 4 directions. Observe their attacking order, and go to meet first those who attack first. Sweep your eyes around broadly, carefully examining the attacking order, and cut left and right alternately with your swords. Waiting is bad. Always quickly reassume your attitudes to both sides. Cut the enemies down as they advance, crushing them in the direction from which they attack. Whatever you do, you must drive the enemy together as if tying a line of fishes, and when they are seen to be piled up, cut them down strongly without giving them room to move. The advantage when coming to blows. You can know how to win through strategy with the longsword, but it cannot be clearly explained in writing. You must practice diligently in order to understand how to win. Oral tradition. The true way of strategy is revealed in the longsword. One cut. You can win with certainty with the spirit of one cut. It is difficult to attain this if you do not learn strategy well. If you train well in this way, strategy will come from your heart, and you will be able to win at will. You must train diligently. Direct communication. The spirit of direct communication is how the true way of the Nito Ichi school is received and handed down. Oral tradition. Teach your body strategy. Recorded in the above book is an outline of the Ichi school sword fighting. To learn how to win with the longsword and strategy, first learn the 5 approaches and the 5 attitudes, and absorb the way of the longsword naturally in your body. You must understand spirit and timing, handle the longsword naturally, and move your body and legs in harmony with your spirit. Whether beating one man or 2, you will then know the values of strategy. Study the contents of this book. Taking one item at a time and through fighting with enemies, you will gradually come to know the principle of the way. Deliberately, with a patient spirit, absorb the virtue of all of this, from time to time raising your hand in combat. Maintain this spirit whenever you cross swords with an enemy. Step by step, walk the 1,000-mile road. Study strategy over the years and achieve the spirit of the warrior. Today is victory over yourself of yesterday. Tomorrow is your victory over lesser men. Next, in order to beat more skillful men, train according to this book, not allowing your heart to be swayed along a sidetrack. Even if you kill an enemy, if it is not based on what you have learned, it is not the true way. If you attain this way of victory, then you will be able to beat several tens of men. What remains is sword fighting ability, which you can attain in battles and duels. The 2nd year of Shoho, the 12th day of the 5th month, 1645. The Fire Book. In this, the Fire Book of the Nito Ichi School of Strategy, I describe fighting as fire. In the first place, people think narrowly about the benefit of strategy. By using only their fingertips, they only know the benefit of 3 of the 5 inches of the wrist. They let a contest be decided, as with the folding fan, merely by the span of their forearms. They specialize in the small matter of dexterity, learning such trifles as hand and leg movements with the bamboo practice sword. In my strategy, the training for killing enemies is by the way of many contests, fighting for survival, discovering the meaning of life and death, learning the way of the sword, judging the strength of attacks, and understanding the way of the edge and the ridge of the sword. You cannot profit from small techniques, particularly when full armor is worn. My way of strategy...
Okay, everyone. So we're going to open up the phone lines for anyone that would like to call in. Definitely give us a call, 866-510-9025, 866-510-9025. Then hit **. Tomorrow we'll have Wise Wednesday with Brother Davis. Very, very important. And today we will actually had the Book of 5 Rings. I think it is for me, it's a must read. And it's all about your talents, your abilities, and you vigorously practicing your craft, whatever your craft is. and being able to not only defend yourself, but from that standpoint, but to be able to defend your talents even from yourself that has been indoctrinated and domesticated in a way that is not in the best leverage or in the best environment for your talents and abilities. It is actually a manuscript of developing yourself. And it uses it from the standpoint of battle, but it really is speaking about the overall engagement of life and everything around it. One of my favorite parts of it is the void. And the void is so important in being able to engage and being able to master your talents from within the different realms of life. So if you would like to, Eternal Life, if you would like to comment on anything, definitely now's the time to give us a call, 866-510-9025, then hit star, unmute you. We'll bring you up. Would love to hear from you all. This is sometimes in order to get to certain places, you can't take the obvious road because by you being predictable means that the overall traps will be laid accordingly, and we find ourselves always in falling to be consumed by the different traps. I think it's so important that we learn so many different things. So I'm going to continue the Book of Five Rings because I think it's really important, and it's something that I think you all should engage in reading and knowing and develop your own Book of Five Rings. So we're going to go back to Brother Davis, who is back in queue. So Brother Davis is back. So Brother Davis, yes, I would love to hear from you, and looking forward to tomorrow, Wise Wednesday, because this is, this, in my opinion, Brother Davis, this has to become something that's essential in our overall lives because we've really been institutionalized in a way to suppress our real talent. So we're going to go back to Brother Davis. Welcome back, Brother Davis, and the floor is yours.
Brother, we have to understand that the teachings that you're giving are done because of your own due diligence. What's interesting about them is that freely as you give them, you will tweak things in people that they don't understand, so they will rather listen so it would show their discernment. But the only bad question is the question never asked. And we must understand one main thing is that as we believe, so we become. So
right.
If you believe the wrong things, you will think the wrong way. And you will be captured by that concept. What does that mean? That means that you will adopt the behavior pattern that reflects how you speak. And that's one of the reasons why I'm going to focus on the positive aspects of growth through not only speech and action, but through your daily lives. What do you do? How do you talk? How do you communicate with each other? What are you eating? What are you drinking? Who are you eating with? Who are you drinking with? All these things add up to who you are. What makes you unique is when you can separate yourself and see what's happening in you through your eyes. That's what makes you the visionary of self. And it's going to be, after this show, it's going to be an excellent show because in reality, this show teaches us how to mold our animal nature into a fine-tuned tool. Tomorrow night's show will show you how to mold your human nature into evolving to your divine self. So literally They work hand in hand. But I'm really excited about it because the night show, I think it should have made people realize that there will be a personal requirement of obedience if they want to strive beyond the circumstance. And we fail to realize, most people fail to realize, the world is beginning to wake up, not to the fact that it has grown, but to the fact that what it left behind is what it needs now. And what it left behind was this type of education was a part of our culture, but yet we weren't exposed to it. So different countries and different other cultures took pieces of it and they built upon it, and they came out with their concept, which literally mirrors ours. But we don't see it because Westernism bombards us because they want us in a state of agitation. You see, when you're in a state of agitation, you can't concentrate on anything because your thoughts cannot focus. And that is one of the main tools that they use against us. But when you ask yourself this, why do they dislike us so much to be so destructive to us? It has nothing to do with who they say you are. What it has to do is who you really are. So I'm looking for tomorrow night.
Brother Davis. Well said. Yes, looking forward to tomorrow. But yes, Brother Davis, so true. Well said. Couldn't be said any better. Brother Davis is absolutely. I'm looking forward. This is what we do, and I appreciate you and Sister Davis so much. And Brother Davis, looking forward to tomorrow, Wise Wednesdays, where we re-engage the arts of our culture that we've walked away from. And that's what we do on every Wise Wednesday. And that's what Brother Davis and Sister Davis and what we engage in every Wednesday and we impart every day that we're on. And this is what Black Talk Radio Network is about. Scotty is in queue also. And I know, let me see if Scotty wanted to say something. Man, Brother Davis has always smoked it and in imparting to you all some of the things that he sees, the vision that he sees and where we're going. And this is why Brother Davis is definitely a part of this family, and Thando Radio Show is keen to the eye, ear, and direction of Brother Davis. So, Brother Scotty, is there something that you wanted to add?
Yeah, actually, I had been away from the studio, but when I was away from it, I was just thinking about that piece that I wrote today. And considering where I live and being around the type of people that would go to New York and kill a black person based off of their perception of black people. So one thing I would like Brother Davis to consider is a lot of these people don't even know who they are. And I'm talking about the people classified as white in this system. They have been taught this false history that they came over here and their ancestors built everything up and so I'm expected for that to be handed down to me, and they getting a wake up call right now because things ain't being handed to them. And that terrorist James Harris Jackson that killed Mr. Timothy Coleman. He said, and I wrote about this. Please check out my article. I'm going to do a follow-up piece on it, but Fear of a Black Planet, the terrorist tale of James Harris Jackson. So for you hip-hop heads, you know the title track of the album,
that's right.
Fear of a Black Planet. Okay? And that was at play there. But based off of his perceptions that were incorrect, because I'm going to pull up this quote. He said that let me get down to the part about the media. But the guy said, okay, he complained, the power of propaganda. Jackson complained about the commercials he saw on television telling a reporter, it's like every other commercial in the past few years has a mixed race couple in it. Now, that may be true in terms of the commercials he was seeing. Maybe he was just picking up, oh, look at all of these. I don't know what that is. You know what I'm saying? That's a biracial something, And so, but that could be just the industry just hiring more people of different background, ethnicities, and basically how they look. So he's worried about the whiteness because he said it's fading away. I think is his exact quote. And to be honest with you, this dude is not incorrect in some of his assessments, but he is in terms of the quote unquote people classified as white, especially here in America. they are in population decline. You can't keep fighting continuous war. How long has the United States been at war around the world, undeclared and declared?
Since his corporation has been founded. And you know what it is, Scotty? I'm glad you said that, because you know what really also has to be taken into account is that the overall influence of MK Ultra, that was part of the trigger to get him to respond in a physical, violent way. This is because many people are hypnotized by the system, and the overall system has controlled people through mind control and so many things, and that was the trigger.
But Dave, at the same time, let's not let these terrorists get off. They've been operating this way for hundreds of years.
No, I'm not letting them get.
He made a decision.
I'm not letting them get off. What I'm saying is that he was prone to that because that's what he wanted to. That was in his heart to him.
Yeah, but see, he was incorrect though in perceiving that it was all this swirling. I guess the younger generation call it, where there's interracial dating. Mating, procreating, leading to children. And so that was his fear. He had a fear of a black planet. The white race is eroding and these white women is having sex with these black men. And that's why he went to New York. But the fact is, the majority of Americans, including black and white people, date and get married inside of their own racial classifications. So he was basing his perceptions off some TV commercials. You know what I'm saying?
Off of his fear, too. Exactly.
And it was other stuff feeding into it.
Who he is.
I guarantee you.
He doesn't know the truth, yes.
I guarantee you he probably be on that platform, that white nationalist platform. What's it called? We're not going to give them any
any pub. Right.
Yeah, but they got them platforms we got BTR community. So they got them. I bet he on those type of platforms. And then he recently got out the military. Now he was a 28-year-old Spec 4. Now I don't know how long he been in the military. Something like 9 years. So for you to be in there 9 years in so-called working in, he was an intelligence analyst. You would think he would achieve the rank of at least sergeant or staff sergeant in freaking 8 or 9 years. So he was a Spec 4. That means he probably didn't got busted down. And it's a lot they're not telling you. But there's also, they have infiltrated the military. They joined the military to get that training. This is a secret. The U.S. government knows this, and they do nothing about it because it fits their agenda for wherever they're going to send them in the world, which is where? To end the system of racism, non-white countries. So they already coming in the country calling them ragheads and saying niggers and you know what I'm saying, and
everything else.
So yeah, man, check out that piece if y'all get an opportunity, man. It's a pretty long piece.
Oh, I'm definitely gonna check it out.
All right,
I'm gonna definitely check it out because it's so important, and I appreciate it, Scotty. So I'm gonna check it out. Hey, we gotta get ready to get out of here. Thank you, Scotty. Thank you, Brother Davis. Thank you, everyone. Wise Wednesday with Brother Davis tomorrow. Be here. Be in tune, be ready to ask questions, to engage, and to grow your overall capabilities and to nurture your individual talents, because that's what Wise Wednesday is always about, so that you will be self-reliant. And this is where you can become sovereign and self-determining and independent. Scotty, much love, much respect. I'm definitely going to check out A Fear of a Black Planet. I'm going to do that this evening to check that out. Looking forward to it. Thank you, and everyone else that listens to Thando Radio Show. Thank you all for being a part of the show. Brother Bragg, if you would you unmute yourself, brother, to give us the frequency chiming, and so that we can go off in great peace, great strength, and great ability in our overall greatness that was given to us out of great love. Brother Bragg.
Peace.
Much love and much respect, everyone. It's never goodbye. As always, we'll see you later. Brother Bragg, I missed you last night, but I'm going to be I'm going to call you right after the show. Much love, much respect. It's never goodbye. As always, we'll see you later. And before you ask for a fortune, make sure to give one away. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Black activists say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake. We're slicing cake.
Say the US wants to avoid at all costs.
We're slicing cake.
Say the US wants to avoid at all costs. Gaddafi didn't give up. In the months leading up to the military intervention, he called on African and Muslim nations to join together to create this new currency that would rival the dollar and euro. They would sell oil and other resources around the world only for gold dinars. It's an idea that would shift the economic balance of the world. Countries' wealth would depend on how much gold they have, not how many dollars they trade. And Libya has 144 tons of gold.